So the draft last night was extremely unpredictable. I mean, we're talking about players taken with the first, second, and third pick that we didn't even know the order was going to be. Some people had Jabari going first, some people had Paolo, some people had Chet. And then as far as the rest of the order, I can't lie, certain names got called up and certain names moved down that I was pretty shocked to see. But as we do annually on this channel, we are going to discuss the winners and losers of the 2022 NBA draft. Now, I think I strike gold sometimes and sometimes I am off, don't get me wrong. But on the whole, we're gonna talk about who were the biggest losers and winners. It could be teams, players, coaches, whoever. Let's just get things started. Drop a like, subscribe, press that bell for post notifications. Y'all know the vibe. Coming in with our first winner, we have the Orlando Magic. Now, just getting the first overall pick is a huge dub, but when you get who I, Young Mustard, believe is the best player in this draft, obviously, and that is Paolo Banchero, I gotta give you a massive W, especially if you're the Orlando Magic. I mean, this team has been desperate for some rejuvenation in that organization for so long. They have not had a real star player come in out of the draft ever since, like, who? Victor Oladipo? And look at how that ended. He wasn't even as big as a star coming into the league, if I'm being honest, because Paolo, he has that superstar talent written all over him. The man is 6'10", 250 with offensive skills that are very polished coming into this league. And though there are issues with his motor on the defensive side of the ball, I do think he has some quality defenders around him, especially when Jonathan Isaac comes back, and him learning how to be a good team defender is not some hella hard thing for him to do. So shout out to the Magic, man. They've needed this since the Dwight Howard days, and Paolo is going to change that franchise for the better, trust me. But then we move on to the Detroit Pistons, our next winners, and I have to say I love what they have done in this draft. For starters, getting Jaden Ivey is a huge W for the Pistons. I think the fit with him and Cade Cunningham is perfect. Cade is going to get him the ball in those spots in transition. I think they're going to be magic, no pun intended. And I think that also adding Jalen Duren later on in the draft from Charlotte, oh my god, what another W. I think Jalen Duren has great potential, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and offensively, even if he doesn't grow into some sound skilled scorer, he truly doesn't have to be, because I think Jaden Ivey's explosiveness on the offensive end, coupled with Cade Cunningham and other players like Sadiq Bey, it really gives them all of the offensive firepower that they need. So Jalen Duren being some 15 and 12 guy in the future is just fine, and if I'm being quite honest with you, anything more is a huge plus for this organization. I truly love what the Pistons have done this year, and even though I might have jumped the gun last year hyping them up, I have to say this upcoming year I am very interested to see what the Pistons are going to look like throughout the season. Another team that I am hyped to see is the Houston Rockets. They are huge winners in my opinion as well. I mean, you talk about stockpiling on talent in a draft, the Rockets did that exactly in this draft. They got 3 first-round picks, and I think they struck gold on all of them. Jabari Smith, even though he is flawed in certain areas, especially when it comes to his finishing, I do believe the Rockets took the right pick with him. I'm not as high on him as a lot of other people are, but I think he's going to a very good scenario where he doesn't have to be the number 1 or even number 2 option on some nights. And with the playmaking of Kevin Porter Jr. and the development of Jalen Green next to him, I think he's in a very good situation to just gradually develop over time. Then you look at who they got later on in the draft with the 17th pick, Tari Eason. I love that pick. I think he's a standout on the defensive side of the ball, may end up as the best defender in this draft, and on a team that has KPJ and Jalen Green in their starting backcourt, that's a much needed asset for this team's future. Then you look at them getting Ty Washington with the 29th overall pick, and I also thought that was a big steal for this team, especially considering KPJ's future is not so secure, not because of his talent obviously, but because of his off the court attitude issues. And considering that he was even higher on a lot of people's boards, to even be taken with that 17th pick that the Rockets had earlier on in the draft, to get him almost 10 spots down, I thought was a humongous W for this team. So having Jabari, Ty, and Tari Eason, 3 huge W's for the Rockets, I would say. But now that we're done with the winners, let's talk about the losers, and to start us off, I have AJ Griffin. Now AJ Griffin is kind of a winner in a sense, but based off the money he lost dropping so low in the draft, it really does make me question how big is that injury risk to a lot of these teams in the league, because the fact that he fell out of the lottery is crazy. If there was no injury risk on AJ Griffin, I genuinely think he could have been a top 3 pick in this draft, but unfortunately because he did fall out of the lottery, he missed out on a lot of money. But I do believe the bright side is that he's going to a team that is going to compete for a playoff opportunity in the Atlanta Hawks. They're not some garbage team that can't develop whatsoever, but as far as that bag, I gotta give him a little bit of an L. But now let's move on to the teams, and let's kick things off with the Sacramento Kings. It seems like every single draft, the Kings are losers no matter what. They passed on Luka Doncic for Marvin Bagley. Bradley. They passed on Damian Lillard for Thomas Robinson. They passed on Klay Thompson for Jimmer Fredette. No matter what the circumstances are in any draft, you can trust the Kings to pass on some type of star player for some bust. And though I do understand why they didn't take Jaden Ivey because he is a guard and they're loaded at the guard position, then why not just trade the pick? I mean, you literally could have traded down and still got Keegan Murray anyways, even if you trade down with the Pistons and just get an asset or two from them. Or you could also go down the route of trading that pick for a key player that you need, because you're going to need some spacing and defense, especially if your core is De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, who the front office believe is a top 3 duo in the NBA. Yes, Mike Brown actually said that. And I don't think that Keegan Murray is trash. I actually think he's a solid player with a bright future, and he went to a pretty decent situation because they need a wing. But it's very clear that the Kings are trying to contend, like they're trying to actually make the playoffs, even though they're not a playoff team in my personal opinion, but that's obviously their goal. And I just think that in order to reach that goal, trading this pick, whether it was for future assets and a player or just moving down in the draft and getting Keegan Murray anyways, I just feel like that would have been the better option. And if Ivy does become a star with that high upside that he does have, especially with Cade Cunningham in Detroit, my goodness, they're gonna regret this. But let's move on to the next and final losers. Of course, who else could it be? The New York Knicks. Y'all know how I feel about the Knicks. It's been a while since I've ranted on this team. This team smells, stinks, and they are an abomination. It seems like every single time that they get into the draft, they're always messing shit up. Whether it's drafting Fortnite suit man himself, Kevin Knox, or Frank Ntilikina, or in this draft, passing up on Jalen Duran and AJ Griffin. Also, you could trade the 11th pick, which was Ousmane Dieng, along with later trading Kemba Walker, 4 second-round picks, and getting 3 future first-round picks. It truly is mind-blowing that they're going through all this trouble just so they can clear cap for Jalen Brunson. I mean, what is the difference between Jalen Brunson added onto this team and then being without him? And then on top of that, they might lose Mitchell Robinson in the offseason, and the replacement for him was Jalen Duren. He was right there, and they passed on him. And even if you don't want to go in that direction, AJ Griffin also would have been box office in New York, and what do you have to lose? Your organization is sorry anyways. The Knicks, man, this is just typical behavior from this front office. I don't know how the fans do it. Truly, I don't know how y'all survive rooting for this kind of garbage. But I'm sure the Knicks think that they're gonna package those picks in order to get some superstar, like they thought they were gonna get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and draft Zion, because that's the delusion in this team. But I don't want to spend much time talking about garbage in the Knicks. Before I wrap this up, let me talk about my steals. I have AJ Griffin as a steal. I still don't know how he fell that low, but it is what it is. Shout out to the Hawks for getting him. And my second steal is Ty Washington. I think that both of them are big pickups for the Rockets and the Hawks. And like I said earlier, Ty could be starting sooner rather than later, because KPJ's off the court issues are a pretty overlooked issue when it comes to him on this Rockets team, and Ty could have to step up pretty soon to take that spot. But that concludes this video. Make sure you go and check out the latest episode of Hoop Concessions. We broke down all the picks up until when AJ Griffin got drafted, mainly because we were shocked that he fell out the lottery, so we wanted to see where he did end up. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. You guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.